The Cincinnati Open was supposed to be another big step in Eala's breakthrough summer. Instead, it turned into one of the most emotional nights of her young career. Under the lights at the Lindner Family Tennis Center in Mason, Ohio, thousands of Filipino fans stayed on their feet, Philippine flags waving throughout the stadium and chants of "Hey" echoing deep into the night. Eala had world numero 10 Amanda Anisimova on the ropes, and for a moment, it looked like another stunning top 10 upset was almost certain. She won the first set. She opened the deciding set with a break. She led 2-0. Then, somehow, everything changed. Momentum disappeared, the comeback began, and the match slipped away. The final score was 6-4, 4-6, 2-6. And when Eala finally walked into the press conference, she was clearly hurting, not just because she had lost, but because she knew just how close she had been. Her emotional comments touched on momentum, a controversial umpire decision, the pressure of the moment, and what she believes went wrong. And for Eala, this wasn't simply another loss. It was a lesson that could shape the next chapter of her season, with the US Open now right around the corner. The matchup between Eala and Anisimova was always going to be a serious test. Anisimova entered as the 9th seed and world numero 10, while Eala came in carrying the confidence of a player who had already made a name for herself against the very best. Anisimova had also been building momentum, riding a 5-match winning streak against top 10 opponents. The American had been ranked as high as numero 3 in the world and had reached 2 Grand Slam finals. At Cincinnati, she had opened her campaign with a dominant 6-2, 6-3 victory over Saint-Nips on Mace, making it clear that she was determined to make a deep run on home soil. But Eala wasn't intimidated, not even close. The Filipina star had arrived in Cincinnati following the biggest stretch of her career. Just weeks earlier, she captured her first WTA Tour singles title at the Washington Open, defeating world numero 3 Jessica Pegula in the final. At Wimbledon, she had reached the 4th round and stunned defending champion Iga Swiatek along the way. She had also already defeated 9 top 10 players during the season. In other words, Eala had every reason to believe she belonged on this stage. And the opening set showed exactly why. From the very beginning, neither player was willing to give an inch. Games went back and forth until the 5th game, when Eala found herself locked in an absolute marathon. The game lasted around 20 minutes and featured an incredible 13 deuces. Every point seemed to carry the weight of the entire match. But Eala stayed composed, kept fighting, and finally earned the break. The Filipino crowd exploded. With a 3-2 advantage, Eala suddenly had control of the set. She never gave it back. Then, in the decima game, she delivered a powerful backhand winner to close out the opening set 6-4. The stadium was buzzing, and the possibility of another major upset suddenly felt very real. But Anisimova had no intention of going quietly. The American, who had struggled to find consistency earlier in the season, began to settle into her game. In the second set her serve became heavier. Her ground strokes became more aggressive. The rallies started getting faster, and Eala was being forced farther behind the baseline. The match pushed deeper into the night, eventually going past midnight, and the atmosphere inside the stadium became almost unbearable. Both players exchanged breaks and holds, but Anisimova continued to increase the pressure. Eventually, she took the second set 6-4, 1 set all. Everything would come down to the third, and Eala came out firing. She broke Anisimova in the opening game and immediately followed it with back-to-back backhand winners. Suddenly, she was up 2-0. The crowd was roaring. Philippine flags were everywhere. Eala was just 4 games away from another massive victory over a top 10 opponent. Then the momentum shifted. And once it shifted fast. Anisimova won 6 consecutive games to complete the comeback. Eala, who had battled through an exhausting match deep into the night, struggled to find the same energy and clarity she had shown earlier. What had looked like a potential breakthrough victory became a heartbreaking 6-4, 4-6, 2-6 defeat. The match ended close to 1 de la mañana local time. And afterward, the disappointment on Eala's face was impossible to miss. In her post-match press conference, the 21-year-old Filipina spoke openly about how the match had changed. She explained that she had felt in control during the early stages. Her confidence was high, her tennis was sharp, and she was playing with the same fearless mentality that had carried her through Washington, Toronto, and Wimbledon. But then came a crucial moment involving an umpire decision that Eala felt disrupted her rhythm. From her perspective, that call became an important turning point. She felt that the decision affected the momentum and helped shift the match in Anisimova's direction. After that moment, Eala admitted that she had difficulty regaining the same focus and mental clarity she had shown earlier. And once Anisimova sensed that opening, she took full advantage. Her heavy serve and powerful ground strokes began to dictate the exchanges. Eala was forced to scramble, defend, and search for solutions while Anisimova kept pressing forward. But what made the loss especially painful wasn't simply the fact that Eala lost. It was how close she had been. She had already won the first set. She had opened the deciding set with a break. She had built a 2-0 lead. And then, just like that, 6 straight games disappeared. Still, Eala refused to turn the defeat into an excuse. Even while clearly disappointed, she acknowledged that Anisimova had raised her level when it mattered most. She gave the American credit for finding another gear during the final stages of the match. That says a lot about Eala's mindset. She was hurting, but she understood the bigger picture. For the Filipino fans who had stayed awake into the early hours to support her, though, the ending was brutal. They had watched Eala win her first WTA title, defeat Grand Slam champions, and establish herself as one of the most exciting young players in the sport. They had turned Cincinnati into something that felt almost like a home event for the Filipina star. And even Anisimova noticed. During her post-match on-court interview, the American praised Eala and described her as a great player and a fighter. Anisimova acknowledged how difficult the match had been and how much pressure Eala had created throughout the contest. She also admitted that she was proud of herself for finding a way through the toughest portions of the match and pushing herself when things became difficult. That respect matters. Because Eala is no longer simply a promising prospect waiting for her big moment. Her opponents are starting to understand that beating her requires a real fight. Anisimova also spoke about the incredible atmosphere created by Eala's supporters. Before the match, she had already joked about the crowd likely cheering much louder for Eala, but she said she enjoyed playing in a packed stadium and wanted to feed off the energy rather than let it overwhelm her. And that is exactly what happened. The atmosphere was electric. The Filipino supporters made their presence impossible to ignore. Even during the most difficult moments, Eala had an entire fan base behind her. But Anisimova eventually found a way through. The 20-minute game. The 13 deuces. The back-to-back Eala winners. The 2-0 lead in the third set, all of it tested Anisimova's resolve. Yet the American kept fighting until she had turned the entire match around. For Eala, the next step is learning from that experience. Despite the disappointing ending, Cincinnati provided plenty of reasons for optimism heading into the US Open, which begins August 30 pulgadas, New York. Most importantly, Eala showed that she is healthy and ready to compete after the ankle scare she experienced in Toronto. She also proved once again that she can go toe-to-toe with elite players. That first set against Anisimova was a perfect example of her resilience. Surviving a 20-minute game with 13 deuces and then closing out the set demonstrated the mental toughness that has helped define her breakout season. But the match also highlighted areas where Eala can still improve. Maintaining momentum after taking control of a deciding set will be a major focus. So will conditioning, emotional control, and the ability to stay locked in when a match suddenly turns against her. Her coach, John Bosch, has been alongside her throughout this breakthrough season. He has guided her through Wimbledon, her first WTA title in Washington, and a demanding North American hardcourt swing. The message after an ad like this is simple: learn from it, then move forward. Cincinnati was also Eala's first appearance at the prestigious tournament after she withdrew the previous year because of a shoulder injury. She came back determined to compete at the highest level, and she accomplished exactly that. The loss to Anisimova was a setback, but it was not a failure. Eala's message to her supporters afterward was built around gratitude and determination. She thanked the fans who continued to believe in her and made it clear that the experience would become motivation as she prepares for the US Open. And those fans have plenty of reasons to remain hopeful. Think about how quickly Eala's career has changed. 2 years ago, she was still fighting for a place in the US Open main draw. Now she is a legitimate WTA contender who has won her first singles title, defeated world numero 3 Jessica Pegula, stunned defending Wimbledon champion Iga Swiatek, reached the 4th round at Wimbledon, climbed to a career-high ranking of numero 20, and defeated 9 top 10 players in a single season. The Cincinnati defeat was her first loss to a top 10 opponent during this remarkable stretch. That is not the end of the story. If anything, it shows just how far she has come. The Cincinnati Open may have ended in heartbreak, but Eala proved that she belongs on the biggest stages in tennis. She proved she can handle the spotlight, compete against elite opponents, and